Greetings, people who are mere seconds away from regretting clicking on this video. Okay, so I saw on the internet, and I saw it on TV, where experts get on there and they say that you should exercise the mind. You should always learn something, especially learn something new, learn a new skill or a new language, so that the brain doesn't rot and you don't get dementia and you don't end up acting and speaking like a politician. So I chose a topic that I struggled with when I was in high school, let's say 10th grade or so. And the name of this video is Tense Sequence with Infinitives. I know, that sounds really boring. Anyway, so let's look at some infinitives, in case anyone's interested. All right. Now, the base form of the verb will be the verb see, okay? Like see, to look, all right? Now, this word see by itself could be referred to as a zero infinitive. It could be referred to as a zero infinitive, but nobody really does that, all right? So now there are 5 infinitives out there floating around, but ordinarily we only encounter 2 of them. In normal speech, in normal language, we generally encounter only the top 2. And the top one is the present infinitive, to see, all right? That's the present infinitive. The perfect infinitive is to have seen, right? See the word haves in there? And then there's the perfect continuous infinitive, which you don't see too much. To have been seeing, all right? To have been seeing. Then there's the continuous infinitive, to be seeing. You see you have your present participle there. And then you have the passive infinitive, to be seen. All right? So we have the present infinitive, to see, which we use a lot, the present infinitive, the base form of the verb with the word to. In other words, you could call it an infinitive marker if you wanted to, or an infinitive indicator. And then the perfect infinitive, we see quite a bit of that, to have seen. And then the rest of them, you don't see much of that. But I show them there for completeness, okay? Now, to make a precise statement or a precise sentence, the verb of the predicate must make or form a functional correlation with the other verb or verb phrase in the sentence. Okay, let me say that again. To make a precise sentence, the verb of the predicate must form a functional correlation with the other verb or verb phrase in the sentence. All right? Now, in this video, we're dealing with tense. All right? Tense in a sentence through your verbs gives you an idea of time regarding the predicate verb's action. In other words, the predicate verb's indicating an action, and the tense of that verb gives you a sense of time. In other words, when did it happen, or when is it going to happen? Okay? So moving right along, let's look at an example. Now here we have a sentence. I like to see my grandson. All right? Now, like is your present simple tense. In verb tenses, you would just call this present tense, all right? But it's actually present simple, right? It's just present, very simple, very basic. All right, now you see you have your infinitive. It's a present infinitive, right? The basic kind. And you see sentences like this quite frequently, or you hear them. Now, in this sentence, we have what we call a timeline. This is what I use in my mind, a timeline. And we also have what I call a time phrase. A time phrase is like a kind of a catchphrase. It gives you an idea of what you're dealing with tense-wise when you look at a sentence, okay? So if you look at this timeline here, you see that I like, all right? Now, M is the moment of speech. That's the moment you're speaking, the very moment that you speak the words, all right? So here's your moment of speech. Now what happens here? I like, okay, the liking's occurring at the moment of speech. To see, okay, green. I like to see my grandson. In other words, the verb action, all right, and the action of the infinitive, all right, are happening basically pretty much essentially at the moment of speech. You see that there? That's your timeline. And the key words here, I call them a time phrase, those key words, during the moment. You see what's happening here? It is happening during the moment. Okay? That's what I call a time phrase, a little helpful hint. I have all these grammar ideas, and I never bothered making a book because I guess I got lazy. Now, here's another sentence. I would like to see my grandson. Okay? I would like to see my grandson. The word would is an auxiliary verb or a helping verb. That's what they call it. It's not such a good term, but that's what they call it. The word would, all right, acting as an auxiliary or a helping word, expresses an openness or a willingness to or a positive anticipation of, okay? It kind of expresses a hypothetical thing. I would like, all right? It expresses an openness to do something or a willingness, all right? So here we have, again, our present simple tense, or you could just call it present if you want to. Like, here you have a present infinitive, all right? But the difference here is the auxiliary. This changes things, okay? It changes your timeline. Here's your timeline. Here's your moment of speech, okay? Moment of speech, that's exactly when the words come out of your mouth. Well, you see here on this timeline that I would like, okay, I would like would generally occur after the moment of speech, all right? Something anticipated. To see, the present infinitive, would occur basically after the moment of speech also. So you see your time phrase, in other words, your key words to help you remember this, your time phrase, as I call it, would be after the moment. Okay? What's going on here with these verbs, the action of the verb is after the moment. Okay? Now you see we had during the moment, and now we just had after the moment, okay? So we're moving right along. Don't take 5 years to do this video. Next sentence would be, I would like to have seen my grandson. I would like to have seen my grandson. Now here again, we have the present simple tense, but it's slightly altered with the auxiliary verb or the helping verb or the helping word, right? Now here we have a perfect infinitive, to have seen, right? A little bit different. So that gives you a different timeline. Now you see, I would like, tells you that it's likely going to happen after the moment of speech, but to have seen would have come before the moment of speech. You see, before the moment of speech. So your time phrase now is different, and the key words, all right, in your time phrase would be before and after the moment. Can you see that there? Before and after the moment. So now you have yet another example using your predicate verbs and your infinitive of how it can basically affect or build a different timeline. Now we have another one. I would have liked to see my grandson. All right? Now here we have your present perfect tense. Would have liked is your present perfect tense. I can't see what the hell I'm doing, so I hope I'm speaking correctly. If not, just shoot me. Okay, now you have to see is your basic or your simple present infinitive. All right? But once again, it gives you a different timeline. I would have liked, all right, that comes before the moment of speech. I would have liked to see, all right, also before the moment of speech. So you see on your timeline, moment of speech, you see your liking in the pink and you're seeing in the green. So that changes your time phrase. Now the key words in your time phrase are before the moment. Before the moment. All right, hope you can see that. Still using my little iPhone 4. God bless it, it still works. All right, now another sentence. I like seeing my grandson. Okay, present tense, present simple you could call it. Seeing, present participle. All right, that's a different form of the verb, present participle. So this combination, I like seeing my grandson, gives us yet another timeline. Now, when you say I like seeing, all right, you are suggesting that in the past at some point you liked seeing your grandson. So it's a given, it's suggested, all right? And also you're suggesting that in the future, at some point, you will like seeing your grandson. So seeing in this case, all right, we're at the moment of speech. I like, at the moment of speech, seeing, because seeing now, the infinitive seeing, all right, the present participle suggests a wider timeline, all right? So the key words in your time phrase then would be for, during, all right, and after the moment. Here we have before, during, and after the moment. You can look at that for a while and see where I'm coming from, but this is how I mentally envision these tense infinitive puzzles. Now, here's another strange one here. Okay, now here remember I showed you it's not an infinitive. I showed you a present participle so we could compare that with the infinitives. So allow me to show another one just to compare, all right? I am liking seeing my grandson. I am liking seeing my grandson. So now here we have the present progressive tense, all right? Am liking. And here we have seeing, our present participle. It's not an infinitive, but we're showing you how when you don't use your infinitive, it'll change your timeline, okay? Now here's your timeline. All right? I am liking seeing my grandson. Now here we have the progressive tense, which suggests kind of an ongoing thing. So we can safely assume that at some point you liked seeing your grandson, all right? So then the suggestion is given on your timeline, but the liking and the seeing basically, essentially, are still at the moment of speech. So your time phrase then would suggest before and during the moment. Before and during the moment. Okay? I hope that made sense. Now here's some bad ones, combinations that you shouldn't use. Right? These are no good. I like to have seen. You see, that doesn't work. Though I'm sure people will say these things in speech, but you'll probably notice intuitively that they don't sound right. I would have liked to have seen. Okay? I would have liked to have seen. Here you have your present perfect tense, right? And your your perfect infinitive. So that doesn't work. And then here you have I would like seeing. I would like seeing. In other words, I would like with your present participle, seeing. That's awkward. Then you have I am liking to have seen. So there you have your present progressive tense, I am liking, with to have seen, your perfect infinitive. And these are crappy examples, and ordinarily you kind of don't want to use them, all right? And then one last thing. I know I take too long. if you wonder structurally what goes on in these sentences, if you want to diagram them or look at the syntax, look at the construction, and say, well, how does that work, and what are we dealing with as far as sentence functions? Well, I like to see my grandson. All right. Here you have your present infinitive, and here you have something going on here. You have I, the subject, like is your predicate verb, your main verb, and here, to see my grandson is a direct object. That's a direct object in that sentence, and you could call it an infinitive phrase. You could call it that because you have your infinitive. Then you have this part here, my grandson. My grandson is the direct object of the action of the present infinitive. It's the direct object of the action of the present infinitive. It's also, you could be called a noun phrase. So you see structurally, you get all that good stuff in there. All right. Now another example would be, I like seeing my grandson. So here you have your subject, I, verb like, and your direct object, seeing my grandson. And you could call that a gerund phrase. A gerund, because the word seeing, all right, your present participle is also referred to as a gerund because it's acting as a noun. And then my grandson over here is the direct object of the action of the gerund or the present participle. It's the direct object of this word. So that's the direct object, all right, of the main verb, but my grandson is the direct object of seeing. And that's also, my grandson is a noun phrase. So that's an idea of sentence structure, and that's about it. So I know that's probably a boring topic, infinitives, but like I said, I want to keep my brain from rotting, so I'll do weird topics once in a while. So that's it. Thanks for being incredibly patient. And if it's too hideous, you can always click the stop button. Good night.